This is the story of a family. Everyone is betraying each other, and eventually, their betrayal becomes the cause of the family's end. Jason reads the newspaper, attempting to ignore the noise, while Andrea shouts at Emma and Ella for dinner. After calling, Andrea becomes frustrated and throws the sofa pillow at Jason, saying, "I am not responsible for everything. Your daughters are your responsibility too." As usual, Jason remains silent and immerses himself in the newspaper. Ella and Emma are identical twins. Jason is the businessman, and Andrea is the housewife. However, when outsiders see the household's environment, they can tell this family is not typical. They are all unconventional. Jason and Andrea always argue over trivial matters. Ella and Emma are identical twin sisters, but don't like each other. Ella always sides with Jason, and Emma is with Andrea. There are two groups at the house. Jason is the quiet type of guy and very lazy. He likes to sit and watch TV and read the newspaper, while Andrea pokes her every time to do something. But his partner Ella is very sharp, extroverted, and intelligent. Ella got this nature from Andrea. White Emily is introverted and shy. They fight, but they all talk about their day at night and remain happy. One day, Jason came home with a worried expression on his face. Andrea asked what happened, but Jason didn't tell her. He picked up some documents and left. After a few minutes, Ella entered the home in tears. Andrea asked Ella what happened and where Emma was. Ella cried and said in a muffled voice, "Someone took her." Andrea was still confused and shook her shoulder, asking, "What do you mean, took her?" Ella revealed that her sister had been kidnapped. Andrea is calling Jason, and Jason didn't pick up the phone. After an hour, he came with the police officer, Harry. Harry is asking formal questions like if they have any enemies or who could kidnap her for ransom or anything. But they all denied it, and they are all telling lies to the police. Jason is a businessman, and he often goes on trips, but he is not alone. He often goes with Natalie, the wife of Jeff. Jeff is also a businessman who met Jason briefly one time. When Jason returned from the tour this time, Natalie told him that Jeff knew about their relationship. He hired a private spy who gave all the details of their trip with pictures. Jeff is very arrogant, and Jason knows he will do something to take revenge, but months pass, and Jeff doesn't do anything. Andrea and Jeff are together in college. They were in a relationship. Everyone knew they were going to get married. After college, Jeff joined his father's business, and he had to go to another country to take care of his father's business. They are committed to continuing their long-distance relationship, but they start to forget each other after a year. Natalie comes into Jeff's life, and Andrea is attracted to Jason. After dragging out their long-distance relationship, they decided to break up and move on. Andrea got busy with her family and never saw Jeff for 20 years. But one day, when Jason is not home and Ella and Emma are in college, an unexpected doorbell rings. Andrea saw Jeff was there. They both saw each other. Jeff started to cry and hugged her. Andrea asked what happened, but Jeff didn't tell her about Natalie and Jason. He said he loved her very much and couldn't forget her, which is true. Jeff wasn't happy in his marriage. Andrea forbade him, and she clearly moved on, but Jeff insisted on friendship again. Jeff and Andrea started to meet, and Andrea learned that Jeff was the opposite of Jason. He is caring, listens to every word, and helps with household chores, everything Andrea wanted in her husband. Andrea started to love Jeff again, and they began to meet. When Ella called the office, Jason informed them about Emma's kidnapping. His first suspect was Jeff, so he came home to fetch his gun. He went to Jeff's office, raised the weapon toward Jeff's face, and asked, "Where is my daughter?" Jeff, worried, claimed he didn't know what Jason was talking about. Jeff's guard grabbed him, and Jason fought with the guards. However, Jeff instructed the guards to leave him, and Jeff made him believe that he hadn't kidnapped Emma. When Jason was sure he hadn't done it, he involved the police. Jason and Andrea both felt sad for Emma, their kind daughter. It had been 2 days, and they had not received any ransom calls or other information. Jason confessed to how he had cheated on Jeff's wife when they were alone, and Andrea said, "I forgive you, and you forgive me too." And then she told him everything. Both husband and wife just stared outside and didn't talk to each other. They both pondered how they had ruined their family with their actions. Ella tried calling Joe, but he didn't answer the call. Joe was the heartthrob of the college and Ella's boyfriend. Almost every girl liked Joe, but he was a notorious boy involved with a gang. Ella and Joe used to sell drugs, and Emma knew about all this. She warned Ella so often that she would tell her father if she didn't stop seeing Joe. Ella didn't listen to her. One day, when Ella was selling drugs to a student, the police arrived and Ella fled, hiding the drugs under a tree. However, when she returned, she saw that the drugs were missing. Joe and Ella were in trouble because their boss demanded $250,000 for the drugs. Joe said he would arrange it, but on the day Emma was kidnapped, Joe didn't come to college, and some masked men kidnapped her sister. Ella knew that Emma was in danger because of her, and she was now trying to contact Joe, but he wasn't answering her calls. Months passed, and Ella, Andrea, and Jason searched everywhere for Emma, but couldn't find her. Andrea and Jason didn't talk to each other, and Ella spent every day consumed by guilt while trying hard to find her sister. Ella told the police everything, and they arrested some drug sellers, but they didn't know anything about Emma. It had been years now, and Ella had secured a job as a receptionist at a famous hotel. She wanted to escape her home, where Andrea and Jason were punishing themselves for ruining their family. Ella also carried guilt for her actions, knowing that her sweet sister had faced the consequences. On her first day of work, she was talking with her colleague when her heart skipped a beat as she saw Emma entering the hotel with Joe. He had cut her lengthy hair, but Ella could still recognize him. Tears welled in her eyes as she approached them, and they also noticed her. Emma became worried for a moment, but then composed herself. Ella slapped Emma and walked back to the reception while sobbing. Emma loved Joe too, and Joe was starting to be attracted to her because she was kinder than Ella, who was stubborn and arrogant. Emma had devised a plan to elope with Joe, and she saw her chance when she noticed Ella trying to hide the drugs. She took the pills and gave them to Joe. Joe lied to Ella, saying his boss was pressuring him, and they staged the kidnapping so that Joe and Emma could escape from Ella.